Alright guys, it's finally landed and I'm at a loss for words. What the heck were they thinking? Naked Tuberose, or called Tuberose Nue from Tom Ford, is here. Like I said, I'm at a loss for words what this one's all about. So I'll let you know what it's all about. I've got words for you, don't worry. Plus I'm going to give you 6 options for tuberose fragrances that I really love. So if you want to find out what they are and hear about this, then please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian with Smelling Great Fragrance Reviews. That's right, Naked Tuberose. I guess this is the 5th naughty themed fragrance from Tom Ford's private blend collection in the higher price point collection of fragrances. And I think this is the oddest one out of them all. Something is off about it that in the background I kind of like, but up front it just is not working well for me. Not sitting well, I should say. Anyway, I'm going to tell you all about this one. I've got lots and lots of different words on it because it reminds me of some stuff. It brought back memories of some smells. And then, as I said, I have 6 alternatives that I think work much better as tuberose fragrances. But, I mean, I don't hate this. Once again, it's just an odd scent. And also, I should say, it's odd in a way that it's not smooth. You know, it's not smooth whatsoever. Anyway, before I get to the fragrance and the other fragrances, if this is your first time tuning into the channel and you still haven't subscribed, please do click the subscribe button below and also click the bell so that you'll be notified for future videos and giveaways. So this comes after Fucking Fabulous, Lost Cherry, Rose Prick, Bitter Peach, and now we've got Tuberose Nue, which translates to Naked Tuberose. But one thing I want to say is this is not naked whatsoever. It's layers and layers of clothes piled on. That's the experience I get with this one. Absolutely not naked at all. So Tuberose Nue is a 2021 launch. 250 ml bottle like this is $8.95. 50 ml bottle, $3.50. So I'm surprised they launched a 250 ml bottle of this one and not Bitter Peach, because I find Bitter Peach a lot easier to wear. And I don't know what they've done. Do they do marketing research for fragrances anymore? Does this one, was it like received much better that Tom Ford decides to launch, or Estee Lauder I should say, a 250 ml? So some of their marketing doesn't make sense to me. But personally, if I compare it to Bitter Peach, I think that's an easier to wear fragrance than this one. Because this one's rough. It's pretty rough. I had a couple of people smell it and they couldn't stand the smell. So for notes here, we've got tuberose, jasmine, Akigalawood, Timut pepper, and musk for notes. Timut pepper, they're peppercorns, just like black peppercorns, pink peppercorns, or Sichuan peppercorns, and now we have Timut peppercorns. These one have a kind of a citrusy grapefruit reminiscent kind of a flavor, this particular peppercorn, whereas Sichuan pepper is also used in some Tom Ford fragrances, goes a little lemony. According to my research, Timut peppercorns are grapefruity. So then what's the difference with this one? So when I first started wearing this one, it was an odd smell right away, but it didn't get odd on initial blast. On initial blast, I got a fragrance that I really love that I gave my mom in the early 90s called ARMANI by Givenchy. So it reminded me of that fragrance, and I was like, yeah, this is going to be probably going good. I like it. Then it also hinted a little bit at Michael by Michael Kors, another tuberose fragrance that I gave my mom almost 10 years after ARMANI. So the way I discovered ARMANI was in a way that I worked in a photo lab, and no, actually I didn't work in the photo lab for this one. I actually was going to photo school, photography classes at a college somewhere, and a woman there was wearing this, and in the dark she'd move around, and ARMANI would be moving around while I'm smelling chemicals. So, you know, I was a fan of tuberose smells way back then. I never wore it, and because I love the smell so much, I was giving it to my mom in both forms, and ARMANI and also Michael for Michael Kors. So this initial blast reminded me of it, but that changed quickly. For me, this one goes a little milk powdery resinous right away, and then some uncomfortable experiences appear, like almost like they've taken notes together and combined them, but not like, you know, mixed them very well. So they're like pieces that are like left hanging, and then there's no smoothness about it. So it's almost like they're clashing really notes that don't work together almost. Like the tuberose has a milky experience, and I get milkiness with this, but it's almost like a powdered milk creaminess rather than like a smooth creamy, you know, like half and half or like whipped cream. So it's clashed. There's like lots of clashing happening when I'm wearing this fragrance, but also it hints at a little bit of the leather in Tuscan leather, and I always have said Tuscan leather smells like industrial strength kind of machinery and what do you call it, like a plant, like industrial plant where there's like, you know, they're composing things and putting together things, so it has a very industrial strength kind of a smell, whatever that means. But this has kind of that mixed in. It's almost like it's just not blended well, kind of like the notes just stick out too much and you've just not mixed it very well, kind of a thing. So there is that part about this fragrance. But even though the notes on Tom Ford's website don't mention resins, I get a major dosage of resins, more like myrrh rather than like benzoin, because there's something about myrrh in contrast to benzoin that I like benzoin a little more. I find benzoin to be a little more smoother in comparison to myrrh, and both of them have sweetness, but myrrh is similar to Apopanax, so there's something a little more rough about myrrh and Apopanax in comparison to benzoin. So I get a very resinous experience with this one, and it's ambery. There is an ambery touch under there, but it's a leather amber together rather than you know, just the amber by itself. So I think that's what's causing the clash. Like, it just has not been blended well. It's not smooth. It just doesn't flow. And I want that from tuberose because I've associated milkiness and creaminess with these white flowers like tuberose and jasmine, and this is not that whatsoever. And when I said it's like layers and layers and layers of clothes, it's not naked whatsoever, it's because there's all these notes that are like not smoothed it out, and I'm not getting the tuberose, I'm getting all this other stuff. You have to peel off all this layers of clothes to experience it, and it just never goes there with this particular fragrance. So in the end, it's not Tuberose Nue, and I don't know the word for clothed in comparison to naked in French. So I don't hate the fragrance, but it's, for me, it's an odd fragrance. What were they thinking about? Were they expecting something as amazing as their very first fragrance in this like series of naughty fragrances, fucking fabulous? I don't think this will be that. I don't think this will, personally, I don't think it'll be received well. It just doesn't seem right. It's just weird. It's a weird fragrance. Yes, it's tuberose, but they've blended it with such weird notes that it's just not finished. It's an unfinished experience for me, and that's the sad part about it. So I think I don't know who decides. Does Tom Ford really do anything for this brand, like for fragrances? I don't personally think so. I think people behind the scenes are working on these fragrances. And also, did they do market research for this? Did they do focus grouping with this fragrance? Because I wouldn't have. I personally wouldn't have rated this fragrance high. I mean, I like it somewhat, but it just rubs me the wrong way sometimes. I just feel like it's completely unfinished, and that whole unsmoothness about it, it's just a little off-putting for me. So that's what I'm getting with this one. It's just a mishmash of notes that are not smoothly blended together, and it just doesn't wear great. I don't hate it, once again, but I don't love it. Those are my thoughts with Tuberose Nue. What are your thoughts about Tuberose Nue? Have you sampled it yet? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you see the similarities to other more popular tuberose fragrances like Amarige from Givenchy or Michael by Michael Kors? Now, I haven't smelled those fragrances currently, so I don't know what they smell like, but back in the day, those were like really great feminine tuberose fragrances. This is obviously unisex, and I could see it being unisex, but from what I do in my videos, I just find it hard for men to be wearing tuberose. people that are just not used to wearing the floral fragrances, I think this will be a little challenging for them. But the fact that it has all those weird notes and seems a bit unfinished, it has a kind of an edginess about it. Were they going for this kind of a style, or were they doing it accidentally? And who approved this scent? I don't know. But none of the fragrances that I'm going to talk about here, in addition to this particular fragrance that I'm going to let you know in a little bit, smell like this. Obviously the main note is tuberose, but these ones do not, except maybe one might have some similarities, but the majority of these fragrances here that I'm going to recommend as alternatives to this fragrance do not smell like Tuberose Nue. So I'm not really ranking this list, but I want to start off with the first one that probably every one of you knows, and it's probably one of the most popular tuberose fragrances. It's from FREDERIC MALLE. CARNAL Flower, another Estee Lauder owned brand, just like Tom Ford. So FREDERIC MALLE's CARNAL Flower is a green, kind of slightly tropical-ish tuberose fragrance, and it has notes of tuberose, eucalyptus, jasmine, coconut, orange blossom, ylang-ylang. And for me, this one is a lot fresher in comparison to this. This one, as I said, it's rough. It has some resinous and leathery, woody touches under there, and it's a weighty fragrance. This one in comparison is a lot fresher, and it's a great wearing experience. It's a beautiful, beautiful tuberose fragrance, and you can smell the actual tuberose as if you're smelling it off the stems, you know. Tuberose as a note is just beautiful. As a flower, it's even better. And when they're bloomed in the warmth, man, they're really, really fragrant. Here, for me, it's not so warm. It's a greener take on tuberose, which I quite like. I love green fragrances, and I feel like you can smell the tuberose stems in here when you're wearing it. So that's CARNAL Flower from FREDERIC MALLE. Now this next one is brand spanking new. It's a house that I don't speak too much about. Hopefully I'll be speaking a lot more about them soon. This is Armani Privé's Rouge Malachite. Is it Malachite or Malachite? Boy, this is so good, guys. As tuberose fragrances go, it's pretty gorgeous. It's lots of tuberose, so much tuberose in this one. Overload of tuberose with jasmine. And I feel like this white flower along with tuberose, jasmine and tuberose, really complement one another. They smell similar and different at the same time. There's some pink pepper, there's some ylang-ylang, and there's some amber with benzoin and some orange blossom, another white flower, which is a citrus flower. But the blending of this fragrance is top-notch in comparison to this one. This is just a rough blending. This one is just beautiful, very, very beautiful, smooth wear, and everything seems like the right amount. Nothing stands out. It's not like all these layers of clothes as I was talking about. It's just a very, very smooth wear. Gorgeous, gorgeous tuberose fragrance. It's an overdose of tuberose. So if you like tuberose, I highly recommend this one. And going forward, I'm going to dig deeper into Armani Privé, but this is kind of the start. I just picked it up, and it's Armani Rouge Malachite. Check it out if you don't know it. It is a unisex targeted fragrance, but as far as, you know, I just say try it. I think this is also a unisex targeted fragrance. I mean, every one of the fragrances I've spoken about, and I'll be speaking about, is unisex targeted, but it depends on if you're comfortable wearing, you know, white flowers. Rouge Malachite, check it out. I highly recommend that one. This next one is probably the closest to Tuberose Nue, but a different take. This is Cocaine from Franck BOCLET. This is really good. It's a very, very spicy tuberose experience. Tuberose with Monoi oil, lily, caramel, tobacco, vanilla, orchid, patchouli. Intense, overwhelming, beast mode, all come to mind. I mean, this is all that as well. It acts like it. But for me, this one, even though it's rough, it's a lot smoother than this one. This one, there's no smoothness to me. Wears great, lasts a long time. It's intense, it's overwhelming, and the color of the juice is really, really orange. Don't spray it on white clothes. But it smells fantastic, and I do pick up the spiciness in here. I do pick up the tobacco, and it's just a great, great, intense, very masculine-leaning tuberose fragrance. So that's Franck BOCLET Cocaine. I've spoken a lot about that one. I've featured it in countless videos. Go search my channel to find out more about that fragrance. Next up, going to the house of Diptyque, it's Dosan EDP edition or version. So here we have a great fresh take on tuberose, but a little deeper than the Eau de Toilette, because the Eau de Parfum from Diptyque are a little stronger. They have more depth, slightly different in smell. But this one features tuberose with petitgrain, musk, and pink pepper. So it's spicy, but also bitter from that green petitgrain note. Citrusy also with that petitgrain note, because the petitgrain is the leaf of the orange flower, so it's got the bitter, woody, green, citrusy kind of a smell. But it really does contrast beautifully with the tuberose, which is this beautiful milky white flower that's really, really standout smell. Really, really one of a kind smell, but it's, you know, as I said, it might lean feminine to some guys, but if you're comfortable wearing white flowers, I think this is highly recommended. It does go citrusy, as I said, but more of a woody citrus and bitter green citrus like the from the petitgrain note. So that's Dosan EDP from Diptyque. If you don't know it, do check it out. This next one, go into the house of L'Artisan Parfumeur. This is Nuit de Tuberose. Here we have tuberose. I mean, all of these are tuberose fragrances, but this one's a very spicy, warm, spicy tuberose. So they've contrasted tuberose with pink pepper, cloves, woodsy notes, some ylang-ylang, a yellow flower, more like tropical-ish leaning, and of course they've got a tropical flower, fruit in here as well, mangoes, and some angelica. But a gorgeous concoction, literally beautiful, but it leans, it goes very spicy on me. The pink pepper and the cloves I feel like are amped up in this. And once again, it's a nice contrast to that beautiful creamy white flower of tuberose. The fruitiness comes in a little bit, but it kind of settles down to a woody kind of a combo of all those notes. Beautiful stuff. This is really, really beautiful, but it's a spicy take on tuberose, and that's L'Artisan Parfumeur. And I'm going to end the video with a fragrance that I've reviewed, a full review of on the channel. It's from a house called JEROBOAM, and this is Hoto. And Hoto is a musky, slightly fruity take on the tuberose note. It's tuberose, musk, pineapple, bergamot, spices, and some rose. The spices and the rose are very, very minimal for me. It's mostly about the tuberose and musk with pineapple, but the pineapple is not overly fruity either. It's a young pineapple where it's not sweet. So there's not a lot of sweetness with this one, but it's very musky. And something I should say, for me this one smells laundry fresh, clean, and not necessarily soapy, but like laundered clothes, but very, very heavy on the perfume with the laundry detergent kind of a thing. Really, really wonderful. It's very clean. It's also not overly complex, not a lot happening. And as I said, it's mostly about the tuberose, musk, and pineapple, but a beautiful, gorgeous tuberose fragrance. So that's JEROBOAM Hoto, and that's the end of the 6 fragrances. But you know, let me know your thoughts on this. I highly recommend you test it out to see what you experience with this one. I want to find out. But if you've sampled it, please do let me know. What do you think about the name, and what do you think about the fact that I personally don't find it to be naked tuberose? As I said, it's very much layers and layers of things going on with it, and it's just not a very smooth ride. So let me know your thoughts on that, and also please do let me know what you think about these 6 tuberose fragrances. Do you like them? Do you hate them? And let me know what your favorite tuberose fragrance is if it's not listed here. I'd like to find out more fragrances. And also let me know if you want to see more videos on this particular house. I don't speak much about it, but this is Armani Privé. I'm really digging this one, and that beautiful red bottle is gorgeous. So if you want to find out more about this house and have me do more videos on Armani Privé fragrances, please put a comment down so I can find out. Either way, guys, thanks so much for tuning in today to watch my review of Tuberose Nue from Tom Ford and find out about my 6 alternatives that are tuberose focused. If you have any questions or comments, please do list below. Otherwise, please like this video, please share it, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.